We're going to find out if we can spice things up a little bit and make Reformed Epistemology fun and exciting.
Reformed Epistemology, so fun and exciting.
And to do it, we're going to head down to Coronado in San Diego. It's an island, by the way. We're going to go over a bridge, and we're going to go to the Hotel Del, which one of us among us really loves. Can you guess who? Yeah, see you there. So we'll get to Reformed Epistemology in a minute, but I want to talk a little bit first about where we're filming at today. So there it is, babe. Are you excited?
Really excited.
This is the Hotel Del Coronado. It's definitely the coolest hotel in San Diego. It was built in 1888, and it's one of the last Victorian beach resorts you can find. It's actually the second largest wooden structure in the United States. A lot of famous people have been here, like Thomas Edison, Madonna, Oprah Winfrey, Ronald Reagan. Here we're going through the front door into the lobby, and they have this giant Christmas tree. A couple years ago, they hung it upside down, and we really didn't like that too much, so it's good to see that it's right side up again. Now here's the courtyard in the middle of the building. You can see they've got another Christmas tree, and at night there's all these lights, and it's pretty amazing. Now we're going out through the side, and we're going to head towards the beach. That's where all the people are right now. And they have an ice skating rink. You can actually ice skate on the beach during Christmas time. All right, so that's a little tour of the Hotel Del Coronado. Without further ado, let's jump right into Reformed Epistemology. Here are the top 3 most important things to know about Reformed Epistemology, at least as it relates to my survey. First, this approach says that we shouldn't try to use evidence and proofs when witnessing to unbelievers. Now, here's what I mean. There have been many Christian philosophers throughout history that have tried to come up with ways to prove Christianity to unbelievers. But Reformed epistemologists say we don't have to prove anything at all. In fact, because of the fall, unbelievers are so corrupt that no amount of reason and logic will ever convince them. So the first important point with this apologetic is we cannot and we should not try to use rational proofs or evidence when we're trying to witness to someone about Christianity. Instead, and this is the next big point, it argues that people already have an innate awareness of God's presence. When people look at a beautiful sunset or a majestic mountain or the clouds in the sky, they're already aware of the presence of God. But they suppress this sense of God so that they can live their lives any way that they want to. Finally, it says that the only way a person can become a Christian is if the Holy Spirit opens their eyes. A person's belief in Christianity isn't the result of their reasoning process, but it's the result of the Holy Spirit impressing the truth of Christianity on their hearts at conversion. The inner witness of the Holy Spirit is the key to a person believing that Christianity is true. Without this, nobody would ever believe. So, it turns out that Reformed Epistemology isn't so scary after all. Here's a summary of what it says. Now, I don't know about you, but I see all of these things at work in my own conversion. Now, here's what I mean. I don't think anyone had to prove God to me. It seemed like I just always believed. But I also suppressed this truth. I remember there were times in my life when I wanted to walk with God as a child, but I pretty much just kept living life for myself until I was 19 years old. All of a sudden one day, I was completely overwhelmed with this idea that God was real. And the most important thing I could do is get to know who God is. Because I knew that I could die at any moment, and I just had to get right with Him. It was like God was calling me to Himself. So I actually prayed that God would help me find him, and a couple days later, a friend just happened to invite me to church. The pastor gave the gospel, and even though I'd heard the gospel before, it was like I had heard it for the very first time. It was like the Holy Spirit opened my eyes, and I was changed overnight. And I remember the Bible came alive to me, and I sensed this new dynamic that just wasn't there before in my life. This didn't come through logical arguments and historical evidence, but I sensed the presence of the Holy Spirit, who was witnessing to my heart that Christianity was true. Well, these are the features of Reformed Epistemology, and this was my experience. For me, this was my highest apologetic at conversion, but I'm not alone. Many other people also had this as their number one apologetic. Now, what's interesting is it didn't score very high for the second part of my assessment, which is what keeps a person convinced Christianity's true. Now, if that sounds strange, you should check out my first video on how evidence and reason seem to become more important over time in a person's walk with God. My next video is about psychological apologetics. I'll tell you what it is and why it's important. And just a heads up, it came in second place for what convinced people Christianity's true. But unlike Reformed Epistemology, which came in first place and then dropped to fifth place, psychological apologetics kept its position at number 2 for both parts of my survey. It's the only apologetic that didn't change, and so you'll want to check it out.